The American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, has opened up about his reasons for leaving AEW. Shortly after Cody Rhodes made his illustrious return to WWE at WrestleMania 38, he had an interview with Variety where he really opened up a little bit about his reasons for leaving AEW, but more about how he feels about AEW right now. And I think they offer a little bit of insight as to his mindset and possibly why we saw him in a WWE ring just yesterday. So anyway, in this interview with Variety, Cody Rhodes said, and I quote, "I chose to remain silent about my departure from AEW, and I'm going to keep my word on that. There's no shoot interview. There's no nefarious tale that's going to be told. There were a lot of these different theories. None of them were correct. I mean, there were things about money, creative control. They were printed as fact, and it's been difficult these past 2 months to see that." And Cody Rhodes would go on to even say about the Young Bucks, Tony Khan, and Kenny Omega especially, the following: "It was a personal matter, and we couldn't move past it. I have nothing but respect for Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, and Kenny. I'm rooting for Tony Khan. His name is going to be in the history books as someone who helped bankroll and support an entire alternative and a revolution that AEW has become. But for me, it was just time to move on. I get an opportunity at my dream. I get another chance at it. And you really can't leave any stone unturned with that." So I think this interview offers a lot more insight than you might think into the reasons of Cody Rhodes leaving AEW, which I don't think there is just one. And I think that's very important to understand. That's very crucial for people who are trying to understand maybe why this happened. Again, we won't know maybe ever why really this happened, but I think that partially, at least from what I just got there, obviously there was at least something. And I think it was mostly with Tony Khan, and there are reports that kind of talk about this, that there was something between those two that they could not come to an agreement about. Perhaps it was his presentation. Perhaps it was the way he was going to be booked. I'm not going to speculate too much on what that is, but we know that there was something there that himself and Tony Khan could not get past, and that was at least in part of, or a part of the reason why he left. The other part, and I think this is very important, because he said this in the interview. He said, "You can't leave any stone unturned." He said it was just time to move on. And then later on in the interview, he would even say that it's his dream to win the WWE Championship, accomplishing what his father never did. I think those are also things to take into account. Cody Rhodes is an old school kind of guy. His presentation, his promos, the builds up to his feuds, they're a lot promo oriented, and then, big, like they are built up like old Southern wrestling storylines of the 1970s and 80s. And Cody Rhodes, I think, has that same mentality. And with that mentality, I think, comes this idea of leaving the territory and going off somewhere else to kind of, one, revitalize it, but also show off your talent to another audience, to another group of people, and make money. Because at the end of the day, that's why pro wrestlers do what they do. They do it to support themselves. Do their art as well, but also support themselves. I think that mentality of leaving the territory hot and going off and betting on yourself in a way, I think that had a little bit to do with this as well. I also believe that Cody Rhodes was the guy who said he wanted to change things. And he has an opportunity to do that. He's coming in. He came in as the American Nightmare. He didn't come in as dashing Cody Rhodes. He didn't come out to smoke and mirrors. He came out to Kingdom. He came out as the American Nightmare. He came out as the Cody Rhodes that has been presented on AEW television over the past few years. Now, I think that his opportunity for going back and maybe changing things there also played into this. And that last thing I mentioned, Cody Rhodes has that dream of winning a WWE championship something his father never did. That, I also think, is part of this. Because as we know, Cody Rhodes loved his father. A lot of his matches have tributes to his father. His entrance has tributes to his father. His promos mention his dad a lot. And I think that Cody Rhodes, in a way, feels as if, again, this is just me, and this is the point where I'm just purely speculating. I think there has to be a part of Cody Rhodes that wants to almost, I don't want to say redeem, but in a way also redeem his father's legacy from WWE, but also just reinforce it as well. Reinforce the Rhodes name, the Rhodes legacy. And I think winning the title in WWE would do just that. So again, the important thing to understand with this Cody Rhodes thing, it's not just one reason. It's not just because maybe him and Tony Khan had an agreement. It's not just because he wanted to go get money. It's not just because he maybe felt like he had done everything there is to do in AEW, or maybe it was just time to leave. I think it was a combination of a lot of things. And I think the biggest hint in that entire thing was also leave no stone unturned. That right there, my friends, that speaks to, I feel like Cody Rhodes at some point thought to himself, I might never get this opportunity again to really choose to go back to WWE. And maybe there was a part of him that was just like, man, I got to see it through. Better or worse, I got to see this through. I'm going to do my best to be presented as I want to. But again, he's 35. He's in his prime. Why not? We leverage it as much as you can, and I think that's exactly what he's doing. Let me know what you guys think, though. Put your comments in the comment section. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.